Back on the spread, finishing out our episode as we always do with some touchdown props for Thursday Night Football. I'm joined as always by the Anytime Touchdown Architect, Brian Matthews, aka Anytime Touchdown King, aka BMatt. Brian, appreciate you hopping on the show.
I always say it every week. Appreciate you having me on. Glad to be on here talking touchdowns.
Yeah, and like we say every week, there's not that many touchdowns to talk about. And, for any dedicated fans, every week, Brian and I talk about how there's always next week. We're going to get a game eventually. We're going to have good odds, good totals. It's not the case tonight. We got Jags and Jets coming to town. And look, I mean, both teams have a lot to play for. Both teams are, at worst, pretty good. But it is rainy in New Jersey. It is windy in New Jersey. And the Jets cannot play offense because Zach Wilson is playing Q for them. This game has a total of 37. Right now, the Jets are slightly favored, which makes no sense, which leads me to believe this is a trap. But we're here to talk about touchdowns. Brian, why don't you get us started with your first play for today?
All right, look. So you talked about the weather. It's well documented at this point that it's not going to be pretty tonight, right? So I'm going to stick on the ground. We'll go Travis Etienne, Jacksonville, first. Look, we know that Sauce Gardner and Reed on the outside, they've got some great cornerbacks, right? So, you're going to think in this type of game script, you're going to want to feed the ground game. Etienne actually looks solid after having a couple down weeks, going for over 100 yards last week. I think he can actually surprise. And look, when the elements are, like they're going to be tonight, a big run can be broken at any time. So let's go ETN first.
Yeah, that was actually Matt McEwen's pick on the MyOC Premium Roundtable as well. He took ETN. You can get him at plus 130 on FanDuel. He is actually the most bet on anytime touchdown scorer at plus 120 on DraftKings, which, of course, shameless plug. Make sure you're checking out the grid for every single game and every single prop so you're getting the best price. Brian, I do have bad news. I've been on a bit of a cold streak on our show, and I besides Taysom Hill that I hit a couple weeks ago.
Hey, there you go.
Also had Travis Etienne as my first pick, so I don't know if that bodes well for you, but I'll leave that up to you.
I might need to pivot.
Yeah, no, it's not good, not good. I was between him and Zonovan, but I just feel like if you're giving up. I think Zonovan's around plus 160. Like at that point, I'd rather just take the surer hand there because I do think Michael Carter might siphon one away today. Who's number two for you?
Look, you just talked about it. I said we're sticking with the ground game here. Anytime you have high winds and rain, it normally is going to favor the run game and the very short pass game. So, Zonovan, that's my pick right there. Bam has looked good. A little bit of a limited workload last week, but he's off the injury report completely, and he's looked explosive when they've given him, 13, 14, 15-plus touches. So I expect that he'll see 15-plus touches tonight. They are favored right now. Again, we don't know how this game goes, but if the game script does work out that way, he should see a healthy dose of carries, and I wouldn't be surprised if he scores as well.
Yeah, I think, and Jacksonville does not have a good defense. That was well documented. I think the over of 65 hit in the Jacksonville Dallas game. But I think that tonight's the night that Michael Carter siphons a touchdown away, honestly. You can get him at around plus 350. I don't think Zonovan's a bad pick by any means, but I think between the short passing game and the fact that if you had the point total at like 25 tonight, I might take the under anyway. And we're seeing this one start trickling a little bit further down. About 65% of the public for DraftKings is taking the under today. Majority of the smart people are taking it. It's so obvious that even Slop is taking the under, which is a little worrisome. But yeah, I think Michael Carter might take it, but I can rock with Bam today.
Okay.
So who's your long shot for today? Because I think we both played it a little safe. I was thinking of going Garrett Wilson, but I talked myself out of it.
Yeah, look, I'm going to go with a guy that has just had a career that has been up and down, but the last couple of weeks has been pretty good. I'm going to stick with the short passing game. Evan Ingram has looked remarkable the last couple of weeks. I mean, he's seen 20-something targets over the last two games. He's heavily involved, and what I look at is the Jets are very good at covering the perimeter wide receivers. They're middle of the pack against tight ends. And this game already sets up for something where if you're going to pass the ball at all, it's more than likely going to be something short here. So I like Evan Ingram tonight. I'll go with him as a long shot. I've also got one more, after you go, just kind of a fun little something you got to do when the weather's like this.
I have a feeling we're gonna go with the same one. I'm
Okay.
not gonna go with a player. I'm gonna go with a couple of different players. I'm going with the Jacksonville defense.
All right.
It sounds like we got the same one, but I don't know, man. Anytime Zach Wilson is under center, it could be a dome and things be perfectly fine, and him not playing against any defense, and I'd probably still bet on him to throw a pick. But you're telling me there is going to be wind and it is going to be ugly, and the Jets might fall behind, and Zach Wilson might have to throw the ball. Jacksonville had a defensive touchdown last week. I don't know, man. This is too good to be true. I've already thrown money on Wilson to throw an interception at minus 210, so I kind of have to rock with the Jags defense. Never thought I'd decide to out loud, but.
I like that one, man. Look, I mean, now I'm starting to worry. We got a few of the same picks here. You told me you're on a cold streak. This might be the slump buster, man. I got a good feeling this might be the slump buster.
Okay, going through.
But look, my long odds play was going to be, hey, look, it's kind of juicy if you go ahead and parlay the Jaguars and Jets to both score defensive touchdowns. We've seen crazier things. It's sitting at about plus 6,000 with this kind of weather. You never know what happens. Plenty of balls end up on the ground. Scoop and score, pick six. You never know. So might be worth it in this kind of game.
No big deal. Little plus 6,000 odds for you on the parlay.
Yeah. Nothing crazy. Just a little sprinkle.
Brian, I wanted to ask you a question, if you don't mind if we pull the curtain back a little bit, because we've gotten a couple of questions over the last couple of weeks since we started this about just people trying to determine how they go about picking an anytime touchdown score, and obviously this is your bread and butter here. So, without divulging too much of your process, how do you kind of, or what number specifically do you look at? How do you kind of reach these final picks?
And so a lot of things kind of factor into what I look at. So I look at defensive rank against the position. That's important. I also look at recent performance from that player. And I think kind of more importantly, you take a look at it and you say, all right, what's the game flow going to be? You have to kind of have a feel for the game and say, look, I think, a team is going to route, this team. So, they're going to lean on the ground game, and then that means the other team, they're probably going to pass the ball more. So kind of trying to figure, all right, so if I like a running back here, someone with the lead's going to get more opportunities, and if a team's trailing, a receiver's going to get more opportunities. So these are just some of the things you obviously want to go through, plenty of target shares, their end zone target shares, red zone snap counts, things like that. But, that's a good starting point.
Okay. And a couple other things. I have the DraftKings most bet on first touchdown score and anytime touchdown score up here. And a couple of interesting names here. Tell me which one of these five, I'll give you for both sections, you like the most or you like the least. For first touchdown score, Garrett Wilson is the top bet on guy, plus 950. Christian Kirk at plus 1,100. ETN at plus 550, Zay Jones at plus 1,100, and BMatt at plus 750. You've already talked about BMatt and Travis Etienne. Mm-hmm. What of those other three guys? Who do you like for a first touchdown score?
First touchdown score? I mean, Garrett Wilson out of those guys is probably going to be the best bet. I just look at the Jets defense, and if you look at the receivers that have actually beaten their DBs, it takes a rare group. So it's Justin Jefferson. I mean, he was held to under 70 yards receiving, but, he managed to get a touchdown. They make it tough for the opposing wide receivers. And so when you have weather like this, that's the side I'm going to stay away from on the first touchdown side of things. So, Garrett Wilson, is not only do I have him in multiple fantasy leagues, but, he's a whole lot better with Mike White at the helm. That's the only thing that kind of holds us back, right? It's like, all right, we want to play him. The talent is obviously there. And he was targeted 9 times. The problem is 4 of those were catchable balls. So, but I think as far as talent goes, go Garrett Wilson and get on the board first.
Yeah, he's plus 200 on DraftKings. I wonder what that would be if Mike White was at Q. That's probably looking at like a 140, 150 line.
Hey, Hey, look, I mean, they weren't throwing to really anyone else last week, at least at heavy volume. So at least you can see they're trying to get Wilson the ball. But that Wilson
deal. Trying to get some of the ball does not cash our
picks,
unfortunately. I got one other question for you because this is in the 5 most bet on guys for DraftKings. You have 2 receivers on there, 2 running backs, and then you got Trevor Lawrence at plus
Yeah.
500. I think sounds like you're kind of interested in that.
That's been one I've been on the fence about all day. Look, these are the kind of games where it's, a Zach Wilson or a Trevor Lawrence touchdown wouldn't surprise you. Yeah, they're not Jalen Hurts, but they've shown that they can move the chains. They can run the ball. They'll tuck it when they need to. So that's the thing with this type of game. I mean, it's kind of throwing darts here. You're kind of, taking different angles here, but you got bad weather and a bad offense mixed with, pretty solid defense. Things can kind of go any way.
We're not going to say it too often, but make sure you're parlaying the 2 defenses to score tonight, or grab a running back while you can, because I'm looking at my window and it's going to get ugly at MetLife tonight. Brian, really appreciate you hopping on the show this week.
I appreciate you as always.